There is more than enough BS on the internet. So in this video, I'm just going to show you the actionable steps of what we did to go from 6K a month to over 100K a month in a little under 12 months. I know there's a lot of people that they like going into kind of like vague stuff, but I wanted to just cover the exact steps as well as why each thing worked and why it's necessary, and then also give you an overview of what we're going to do to go from 100K a month to 200K a month, because I know, there's probably some people around the 100K a month mark watching this video. Really, the whole point is just to tell you this is how we scaled quickly with an agency, that is specifically, and then we'll be able to go from there. So without further ado, let me just get straight into it. Get that over there. So this is a full presentation. So my goal with this video is pretty much just to avoid the typical online money BS. Like I said, this is just going to show you how we did it, so you can emulate the strategies. That's obviously being aware that there are a million ways to do anything. If there's one thing I've learned over time, it's just that you can do these sorts of things in a lot of different ways. Doesn't really matter what you're doing. There's always something you can pull from somewhere else. So I just say that to be aware that, our stuff works, some other stuff works too. In terms of the overview of how it got started, we booked a call with this client at 6.5 to 9K a month. Now just closed over 102K for August. In terms of the overview of what we're covering in this video, the offers, the context, the paid ads, the content strategy, as well as what's next to go from 100 to 200K a month. And it started out really with only working with low-paying clients. A lot of the stuff that he was doing before working with us was kind of just not strategic. It kind of lacked a bit of planning. I don't know why that happened. It kind of lacked a bit of planning. So what it kind of ended up with is just going month to month, not really knowing where the next client was going to be, and kind of just reacting to everything in the ether that would come across. As in, you'd have 1 month where it'd be more, like 9K. You'd have 1 month that would be lower, like 6K, and you would kind of just be grappling almost to get that next client and grappling to grow the whole time, rather than being proactive and saying, all right, here's where I want to get to, and we have to reverse engineer that result. That entailed basically doing some cold email stuff, cold DMs, and he'd also worked with a few guru types with poor results. That's pretty typical. We see a lot of people at the moment specifically trying to really force outbound to work and trying to force these things to work that people on YouTube talk about, but they kind of struggle when it comes to actually building something that's a bit more robust in terms of a system that can kind of just be a bit more reliable. And I know people always talk about, you want a reliable system of booking leads and all of these things. But the truth is, if you actually do the inputs that we're about to talk about in this video, like consistently, it's almost more difficult to not have pipeline. And that was the case with this client as well, where, after a little while, he kind of just had enough pipeline and needed to get a sales team, which is a little bit of a foreshadowing of what's next. So basically the end result is that he was stuck in the loop of signing a client, fulfilling, taking the foot off lead gen, destroying his pipeline, and then having to restart. This is really, really common around this level where you grind so hard to sign these clients, then all of a sudden you get stuck in fulfillment. You don't do any of the stuff that generated the leads, and then your leads obviously basically turn to shit, and then you have to start back all over again. This is like one of the most common things. So when you look at the problems that he was facing at this level, and this is kind of regardless of what level you are at, but it's kind of like you just have no one who knows who you are and what your service is, because, why would they know who you are if you've just started your business and you're in that kind of 6 to even under 100K range? People don't know who you are, and they can't buy from you if they don't know you. So a big part of what you need to be doing is letting people know about your stuff. That's kind of pretty simple, but it is, when you take it down to the simplest parts, it makes it much more simple to be able to go out and do that and just say, okay, I need to optimize for letting people know about my stuff as much as I possibly can. And the result of that is that he basically never had enough leads to turn down shitty clients or have consistent flow. This absolutely destroys you when you're first trying to get to your first 7 figures of an agency. You feel like, oh, I have to take on every client. I should be able to get results for every client. I should be able to work like this or like this. When in reality, most of the clients that you will have access to, especially at this level, are never going to be qualified. And they're just not going to be able to get results with whatever the hell you do, purely because they're not running a business that's, doing that well. A good example is if you're doing email marketing and they don't have anyone on their email list, might have maybe 1,000 people on their email list, you're not going to be able to make them any money. You could fulfill the exact same service for a brand that was doing 8 or 9 figures a year and make them a ridiculous amount of money by changing absolutely zero about the service. So the actual types of clients you take on are a massive, massive, massive driver of the results. And it's even the same in this case. For example, Angus, our client I'm talking about in this video, a lot of this would not have been possible if he wasn't a good client. So when you're looking at these people you're taking on, you have to kind of analyze them. Are they a good fit? Do they have the right mindset? Do they have the right business structure? Do they have the right organizational skills to get results with my stuff? And of course, with different services that you have, there's different things that you need to take into account about whether they are an ideal client. But I just thought I'd touch on that because it is really important. And it is a real problem that when you're at this level and you don't have enough leads to turn down the shitty clients, it's kind of a negative flywheel in a way because you just keep getting screwed over basically. And then number 3 is that when you rely on spotty organic traffic and referrals for deal flow, you just have absolutely no control. So this was Angus when we first started working together. He'd get a few referrals here and there. He might accidentally get a client from outbound. He might, get, something come through from organic where someone sees a reel or something like that. And that's how you stay afloat. That's how you can, like I said, grind for those first couple of deals where you have no idea where they're even coming from. If you had to replicate it, you wouldn't be able to because you almost fall into the deal in a way. And that's a massive problem because when you're trying to scale, you have things like churn, you have things like employees that you have to pay for, you have things like softwares, paid ads, you have all these expenses, and you really need it to be predictable and really importantly, repeatable and replicatable or replicable. So if you don't have these things, you really need to solve them. And again, that's what we're covering in this video. And number 4, no way to monetize unqualified leads. So lots of revenue left on the table. So like I said, when someone is not a fit for your main service, which will happen quite a lot, you do still want to be able to sell to those people so you can continually spend money on marketing. So for example, if you have to spend $200 to book a call on paid ads, and then one of those 2 people isn't a perfect fit, so maybe they're a good fit but not a perfect fit, and then you can't sell to them just because they're not the absolute perfect fit, you really sell yourself short. You really sell yourself short. And the reason for that is because just because they're not a perfect fit for your recurring service as an agency, that shouldn't mean necessarily that you can't help them make more money in some way. And I don't mean go ahead and just sell random shit to people just because you might be able to do it. What I mean by that is you can use things like setups, you can use things like one-time offers, you can use things like referral deals where you might not even necessarily have to fulfill the work for that person, but just because they're not the right fit for you doesn't mean you can't make money from them. So you can have them on the call. You're paying that cost regardless of what happens. You've already paid that cost to get them on the phone. You may as well try and either liquidate some of that cost you've already spent or get a profit on it by selling them some sort of setup offer or intro offer, or even referring them over to a friend that maybe they deal with smaller businesses, or maybe they can help them more and then taking a cut there. So you can then go and spend more money on paid ads so you can grow instead of constantly being worried, oh shit, am I going to be able to make enough money to afford paid ads? So you can see this is a massive, massive thing. When it comes to the offers and positioning, the intro and the setup offer are one of the most key things that not only did we do in this deal, but also for any agency. And you can see here, Angus closed 15K worth of setups in a day after being at 6K a month, just a few months before that. So when it comes to things you can do to immediately inject revenue and immediately be able to recoup some ad spend, it's running all your traffic, so that's your content, that's your paid ads, that's your outreach, towards an offer that appeals to a large segment of the market. So I have a lot of clients where they might be trying to sell 10K a month deals or 50K upfront deals or whatever it may be, and they might only work with 8-figure companies or something like that. That works and it is good. However, another way of going about it is selling one introductory offer, not beginner offer, but an introductory offer to a large segment of the market where, let's say you want to work with 8-figure brands or e-commerce brands. Rather than just saying, I'm not working with anyone who runs a 7-figure business, you can just say, well, maybe I'm going to start off selling them a 5K offer because all of a sudden that opens up my ability to spend into a broad market with a really, really strong positioning. And then of those brands, some of them will be 8-figure brands. So you can increase the amount of money you can spend to acquire a customer. And then you can go ahead and just close the super qualified ones, the absolute dream clients on that higher ticket offer after they've already built up that trust with you from your introductory offer. I think it was Dan Kennedy that said, Whoever can spend the most to acquire a customer is going to win. And the reason for that is because you end up expanding your surface area so much with this introductory offer. So many people know who you are. You build up so much proof. You allow yourself to spend profitably on ads instead of having to scramble for these, these large deals where you don't have that much trust built up. And again, you sell a shit ton of people this intro offer. All of a sudden, you have 100 customers that you can continually resell over time, whether they become qualified later. So a 7-figure brand grows into an 8-figure brand that becomes a qualified client, or you just sell the introductory offer to that dream client. You sell that introductory offer to that dream client, and then all of a sudden they get in the door with a really low friction offer. Then you can upsell them to your recurring one later. It's absolutely insane how well this works. And the reason is, when you target a specific outcome with that intro offer, you can get to them really quickly. So you can get that sales cycle shortened. You can get people to take that next step towards you really, really quickly, even if it might not necessarily be the right timing. Because a big part of the recurring offer, and when you're selling these high ticket deals like a 10K a month deal, 5K a month deal, is that a lot of the times people will only want to buy those things when it's the absolute optimum time for them to buy that. However, when you have an intro offer, you can resonate with a slightly broader demographic of the market, people that are slightly less aware of what you're doing. So you have this intro offer that can be sold and attract a huge percentage of the market. And then once they're attracted to you, you can work to accelerate that process of them buying that higher ticket offer. And what I mean by that is, you might be able to throw out bait further and more attractive bait to a huge amount of people. And then instead of having to wait for them to basically reach their optimal timing to buy your recurring offer, all of a sudden they get in the door, they buy your stuff, they take your intro offer, whether that's free or paid, it doesn't even matter. Then you can push that sales cycle way, way, way faster than if you were just going to have them, off in the ether watching your videos and waiting to convert. It's insane how well this works. It's like setting a bear trap instead of just waiting around for the bear to kind of accidentally come into your crosshair. So you can actually take control of that speed to conversion and really shorten that cycle, and it works crazy well. That's what you're doing on paid ads initially for one stack of campaigns. The next stack is a case study VSL. So this works specifically for the reason that you are going to go a little bit even further broad in terms of who your ads and who your offers can resonate with on paid ads. Because even to buy an intro offer, you still need to be in some sort of conversion window, but you can watch a case study VSL no matter who you are in any market. And what that does is it casts a wide net where, again, you can cast that big net and then gain resonance and gain trust with such a big portion of the market and still resonate with that higher end of the market that you actually want to convert. And what I mean by that is, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible, but what I mean by that is, regardless of whether you're at 10K a month or 8 figures a year, 8 figures a month, you're still going to be able to resonate with a case study VSL. So you can make messaging around that ad that gets people in the door and gets people thinking you're that authority. Whereas if you didn't have that case study VSL, they might have never even clicked on an intro offer. They might have never even clicked on a recurring offer just because that's what they see in the ads and they know that that's not what they need right now. However, when you have the case study VSL, it's a sexy thing that they can click on and go through. Then again, it accelerates that trust. It accelerates that kind of conversion window. It accelerates that sales cycle because they get in, they see your expertise, and maybe you pitch some sort of intro offer, maybe you pitch a recurring offer at the end of that. Then all of a sudden they've gone through that case study VSL where, again, if they didn't go through that, they never would have gone for the intro offer, the recurring offer. All of a sudden you open yourself up to be able to sell to so many more people compared to when you're just doing this basic shit that most people are doing in the market right now. So you can see, if you had both of these cranking, if you had both of these working, all of a sudden it becomes almost difficult not to get leads. Not to mention you also have your lead magnets, so your checklists, your PDFs, your guides, whatever it may be. And you're also running ads to each of these. If you're really trying to scale your business, you can have all of these things running at once and they all work together. So what you have is like an ad into an opt-in page, a thank you page with a VSL, and then email flows. So just in terms of the funnel. I won't necessarily reveal exactly what Angus's ads are or exactly what his offers are, exactly how he's making all of this work on the back end in terms of his VSLs, email flows, etc. Just out of kind of don't want to dox him too hard, but he's booking a shit ton of sales calls using this, so it's working pretty effectively. In terms of why it works so well, like I mentioned before, it's so low risk to get in the door where you can get people in with this bait, get them on a nibble, and then you can keep kind of almost breadcrumbing them in a way where you're just giving them the next thing to take a step towards you, and then continually doing that and basically accelerating that journey of becoming a buyer. Builds huge trust, especially when you're comparing it to the massive claims that get made in the market where people are saying things like, we're going to make you 10K a day, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then you can come in and basically just say, hey, we'll get you this really specific thing. It's really simple, great results, yada, yada, yada. And you can sell it in a completely different frame compared to the people that are kind of just begging for deals. The result of that is you get more qualified clients because the targeting is so specific and you can build these offers around specific problems. Examples of specific problems might be a landing page conversion rate, a email flow conversion rate, a email flow deliverability piece, things of that nature, a paid ad CPA, a control, some sort of control on Facebook ads, meaning, you can beat their best Facebook ad, or you can create a Facebook ad that's just as good as their control or their current best Facebook ad. Or you might even just do an audit where you say, hey, I can look at your Facebook ads and then basically look at what you're currently doing and then try and improve them. And if I waste your time, then I'll give you a guarantee or something. These sorts of things are way, way, way higher status and way higher authority compared to making insane claims and then trying to back those ridiculous claims up. This way you don't look as desperate. You look as someone who's really competent and really knows what they're doing, because not only are you aware of the specific problems that the client has, but you know how to solve them and you're telling them you can solve these problems and then showing them how you can do it and then actually doing it, which makes them like you a lot more compared to then if you're just yapping about random stuff and how much money you're going to make them. The specificity is really where you get a lot of the results here. Next, another reason it works so well is, like I was mentioning earlier, you can hit multiple demographics of the market with these different ad campaigns and convert each of them. So it's like there are different segments of the market that will only convert for that type of thing. It's like a different lock and a different key for different segments. So for example, some people like lead magnets, some people like VSL funnels, some people won't click on either of those and they might only respond to a referral. And there's all these different ways that people will like to buy and people will engage with different stuff. They might have had a bad experience, they might have had a good experience, it doesn't really matter. The only thing you need to know is that when you have these different things, it's like there's different bait that gets different types of animals in a way. Like you might catch a lion with a piece of steak, and then you might catch a pigeon with, I don't know, some kibble or something. I don't know, how do you catch a pigeon? But it's the same thing. So you have some types of prospects will say that VSL funnel was great, bang, that's all I need to buy. Some people will say, oh, well, I went through the lead magnet, I watched the VSL, I saw your ads for a little while, I saw your YouTube, and I saw all this stuff, and then I really trusted you, and then I converted then. So really all you're doing is you're making sure you're optimizing to be able to capture all of these different segments of the market while also scaling. And kind of the challenge here is that you have to make sure that it's very focused towards what's going to drive the highest ROI as fast as possible, so you're not just wasting your time doing all this random stuff, and you're actually doing it with a strategy where you're saying, all right, I'm going to go with a case study VSL, some lead magnets, and an intro offer. Then all of a sudden you can basically just print straight out of the gate, just like Angus did. Last thing here on why it works so well is that everything makes each other work better. So having these lead magnets makes your book a call funnel stronger because people can download all your stuff, get to know you, then book a call if that's appropriate, or they might book a call, go through your lead magnets, get nurtured a little bit, and then all of a sudden actually close instead of just ghosting you, and maybe actually show up to the call instead of thinking you have no authority and you don't know what you're doing, and showing you a little bit of respect because they've gone through your content. So this is really, really important. The next thing was the content strategy. So a big part of the content strategy that I see at the moment is that people are really focused on doing broader stuff and going viral to get more traffic and doing all these different things. And sometimes that's necessary. But if you're an agency and you're selling B2B stuff, you really just want to focus on specific topics that are hyper relevant to the client base such that they actually watch that sort of content. And the thing here is, I know, you want to be getting views, but getting 100 views from the ideal customer is absolutely fine. Obviously, you'd want more. Like that's not what I'm saying, where you just want to settle for 100 views. It's just so much more important that it's actually high-level content that the prospects want to watch. Specific tutorials, how-tos, checklists, full guides, case study breakdowns, yada, 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 are 1,000 times better than the typical guru content because B2B prospects just don't watch that stuff. And I would ask you, what content do you watch? Like, what is the stuff that you consume? That is the stuff that your prospects are probably going to want to consume as well if you're in that similar boat where you're actually running a successful business. And that way, what happens is you can get 50 views and then still have 7 to 8 figure clients on sales calls say, yeah, I was binging your content. Yeah, I was watching all that stuff. It was really helpful. And then what happens is people will find your stuff from paid ads. They'll see your advertising, go down the rabbit hole, see all your content, and it becomes super effective. So what this eventually turns into is something like the full lead generation funnel where you have paid ads working, you have content working, you have outreach working, you have partnerships, you have your lead magnets, you have your intro offers and all these things, where essentially what you're looking at here is these are all the tools at your disposal. And when you have everything, growing to 8 figures is almost a given. Like you can grow very easily when you have everything ready. But when you're going to 100K a month, like Angus was, like I've talked about in this video, even just getting your offers and positioning, your paid ads, and your content really dialed in. So not even this whole thing, you can get insane results just out of the gate in a way. Just by getting some of it set up and having a bit of it set up, you can absolutely dominate. So this is a really strong way of getting leads. And I'll leave a video about that at the end of this video, maybe linked in the description. In terms of what's next, what you want to do is at this stage, or what we'll be doing with Angus, is we're going to be building a bit of a better sales team so we can scale paid ads, some setters and closers, as well as improving the ads. Probably be enough to add the extra revenue just based on experience. Then really it's just making sure everything's good to go operationally, working on improving the paid ads and the content so they're continually effective as you scale. So one thing you'll know is that when you scale your ad spend, you constantly are hitting broader and broader targeting audiences or your just broader audiences. So you need to actually get better at paid ads as you scale, and it gets way harder. So we need to continually focus on that. And really what it is just staying consistent. So what we're doing now is adding a shit ton of revenue. So there's not really any need to change it. It's just a matter of doing more for longer. And if you're currently saying that sounds like a lot of work, you'd be correct. It is a bit of work to go from 6K a month to 100K a month. People on the internet that are telling you that you can just get a lot of revenue with no work and just do this in like 1 minute a day. I'm sorry to break it to you, but that is just complete bullshit. Like it's just not a thing that you see actually happen in the land of reality. The truth is, if you want it to work, like you are going to need to figure a lot of this shit out. And that's just the case. If you want help figuring that sort of thing out, obviously you can work with someone like me. But at the same time, that doesn't just absolve you from it being difficult. I think there's a massive misconception that you can kind of just speed run it, which you can, like Angus has, like hitting 100K a month in 7 or 8 months is very impressive and it is fast. But that is a combination of working with someone like me, working really hard, not taking no for an answer, constantly trying to improve, hiring the right people at the right time, avoiding mistakes, keeping your client results up as you scale, and all of these things that contribute. So yeah, it is a lot of work. And honestly, if you're not the type of person that's open to doing work, when you're below 100K a month especially, like if you're not making 100K a month and you don't want to work hard, it's kind of like, what are you doing? Like, I'm not necessarily a hustle and grind type of guy where it's like, no, I don't want to do anything, or you should just wake up at 2 a.m. and work super hard. Like I'm kind of in the middle, but the reality is you're going to have to do some stuff. Like I think it's probably a given, to be honest. You're going to have to do some stuff. So yeah, it is a bit of work. If you want to make it easier, I've got free guides all over the channel. Check out the videos. And yeah, if you want to work with us directly, the link in the description.